2 years ago, I was the kind of person who would Google how to make money online at 1 a.m. and click on anything that promised $10,000 a month from home. Spoiler, those late-night rabbit holes didn't make me rich. At the time, I was working a dead-end warehouse job. 12 hours on my feet, hauling boxes, coming home with my back aching like I was twice my age. My bank account was a graveyard, and my side hustles were a mix of half-baked ideas and pure wishful thinking. One night, after a particularly soul-sucking shift, I decided I was done feeling like life was just happening to me. I didn't want to be rich overnight. I just wanted something that gave me hope, and maybe enough money to buy groceries without checking my balance first. That's how I ended up trying my first online business. And man, it was awful. When I decided to finally try making something work online, I went full scattergun. I tried everything I thought might stick. First, I got into affiliate marketing. I spent weeks writing blog posts about gadgets I'd never used, hoping someone would click my links. I even bought a cheap course promising insider secrets. After a month, I had 2 clicks. Total revenue, 37 cents. I cried a little. Next, I thought drop shipping would be the golden ticket. I picked a random niche, novelty kitchen tools, built a tiny Shopify store, and ran some ads. I had a flash of excitement when one order came through. Then I realized shipping took 3 weeks. Customers complained, returns piled up, and I was basically spending more on ads than I earned. Total loss? $180. Then came the digital product phase. I tried selling templates and printables. I thought people love PDFs, right? I made 10 professional-looking spreadsheets and planners. They were ugly, clunky, and confusing, and nobody bought them. I felt like I was screaming into the void. Every attempt ended in frustration, money lost, and late-night self-doubt. My confidence was flatlining. Then, almost by accident, I stumbled onto the idea that changed everything. T-shirts. I was scrolling through Instagram one night and noticed all these small brands selling shirts with one-liners or quirky graphics. Something clicked. I didn't need to compete with massive brands or complicated products. I could create funny, simple designs that people actually wanted to wear. I sketched a few ideas that night. One was a plain shirt that said, "Running late is my cardio." Another had a minimalist stick figure holding a coffee cup with the caption, "Will work for caffeine." I didn't know a lot about production yet. I bought a pack of plain cotton t-shirts from a local wholesale store. Nothing fancy, just basic black and white tees. I printed my designs on them using a small heat press I ordered online, following a few YouTube tutorials. The first batch was ugly, slightly crooked prints, some ink smudges, but they were real, tangible products. I started selling them on a tiny Etsy shop I set up and through a few Instagram posts to friends. I wasn't expecting much. I just needed to see if people would actually buy them. The next week, I threw together 5 more designs and printed them on shirts. Nothing fancy, just simple, funny, relatable stuff. One said, "Procrastinators unite. Tomorrow." Another had a tiny doodle of a sloth hanging from a branch with the words, "Nap all day, every day." I expected crickets. Instead, something magical happened. One of the shirts sold, then another, and another. By the end of the week, I had 5 sales. Not life-changing money, but enough to cover a week's groceries. Even better, people started sharing the designs on Instagram. A few strangers tagged their friends laughing at the captions. I woke up to notifications from random corners of the internet. Total strangers buying a shirt I had designed and printed in my tiny apartment. For the first time, I felt like I could actually do this. I wasn't just experimenting with empty promises or half-baked ideas. I had a real product, real customers, and real feedback. And it was something I could scale. I remember sitting on my couch that night, sipping instant coffee, and thinking, this might actually work. I might actually get out of this rut.
Just when I thought things were starting to click, reality hit me like a brick. My little t-shirt venture suddenly ran into its first major obstacle: stock and quality. The first batch of shirts I'd printed had some issues. Crooked designs, faded ink, uneven placement. Some customers complained politely, others not so politely. One even demanded a full refund and posted a not-so-nice comment on my Etsy page. I felt like I'd failed publicly. Then came the supply problem. My small local wholesale supplier ran out of the black cotton tees I needed. I scrambled to find a replacement online, but shipping took forever, and the new shirts were slightly thinner, the fabric cheaper, my prints didn't stick as well. I had orders piling up, and I couldn't deliver on time. I started losing money instead of making it. That's when it hit me. Maybe this was a stupid idea all along. I felt the familiar urge to quit, the same one that had popped up during my affiliate marketing and drop shipping disasters. I stayed up all night staring at my messy apartment, boxes of half-printed shirts around me, thinking, why am I even doing this? Maybe I'm just not cut out for it. The frustration was brutal. I wanted to throw everything out, shut the laptop, and go back to my warehouse job. But somewhere deep down, there was a tiny voice saying, you're closer than you think. You just need to figure out the right way. It was a good punch, yes, but also a turning point. After staring at that pile of crooked, half-printed shirts all night, I had a choice: give up and accept I wasn't cut out for this, or figure out how to make it work. No shortcuts, no excuses. I chose the latter. The next morning, I made a list. I wrote down every problem I had: bad prints, slow production, inconsistent fabric, shipping delays. Then I started researching solutions. I learned about print-on-demand services like Printful and Printify, companies that could take my designs, print them professionally on high-quality shirts, and ship directly to customers. My first instinct was to think, that's cheating. I wanted to do it myself. But then I realized the goal wasn't to prove I could hand-press shirts in my apartment. The goal was to build a real business. So I pivoted. I uploaded my designs, the funny, simple ones that made people laugh, to a POD platform. I tested a few more ideas. Introverts unite, separately. I'm silently correcting your grammar. Then I relaxed, just enough, to let the first few orders roll in. The platform handled the printing, the shipping, and even the tracking emails. I could finally focus on creating new designs and engaging with customers instead of stressing over crooked heat presses. It felt like taking a deep breath after months underwater. I wasn't magically rich yet, but I had a system that worked, and for the first time, I believed I could actually grow this into something bigger. Once I had a system that actually worked, the real work began. And by real work, I mean long nights hunched over my laptop, juggling designs, social media posts, customer messages, and spreadsheets. There were no shortcuts. I had to grind. I started by designing obsessively. Every night, I'd sketch ideas on a notebook or use Canva to mock up concepts. Some were stupid, like a shirt that said, Nap Queen, with a crown drawn badly in paint. Some worked surprisingly well, like Wi-Fi and snacks, my only essentials. Simple, relatable, people laughed, and they bought it. I learned early that consistency mattered more than perfection. I uploaded at least 5 new designs every week, optimized product listings, and experimented with social media. Instagram was my main channel. I'd spend hours figuring out hashtags, writing funny captions, and engaging with anyone who commented. I even joined a few niche Reddit threads to share designs. Carefully, so I didn't come off as spammy. There were sacrifices. My friends didn't see me much. I skipped nights out. My apartment was littered with sketches, sticky notes, and coffee cups. There were times I thought, am I doing too much? But I kept reminding myself, building something real meant doing things nobody sees. The quiet, boring grind was the foundation for growth. And slowly, it started paying off. A few shirts that I didn't expect to sell suddenly gained traction online. People shared pictures wearing them, comments rolled in, like, "I literally just bought this for my friend, we laughed so hard," or "This is exactly my vibe." Those little victories, tiny, messy, imperfect, kept me going. They were proof that what I was building wasn't just a hobby, it was becoming a real business. Just when I felt like I was drowning in spreadsheets, design drafts, and social media schedules, a few unexpected people appeared and changed everything. First, a friend from college, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, saw one of my Instagram posts and reached out. He worked in small-scale marketing and offered to help me figure out better captions, hashtags, and ways to reach my audience. His advice was simple, but it made a huge difference. Suddenly, my posts weren't just floating in the void, people were actually seeing them. Then came another surprise. I posted one of my designs in a niche Reddit community purely for fun, and a moderator messaged me privately. He wasn't offering money or a partnership, just tips. He explained what kind of posts got engagement, how to interact without being spammy, and even suggested I test a few new slogans. That one conversation gave me clarity on how to market without feeling gross. And finally, a small influencer on TikTok stumbled across one of my shirts, the Introverts Unite, separately designed, and shared a video wearing it. Within 24 hours, my store had 3 times the usual traffic. I didn't pay for ads, I didn't pitch them, it was pure luck and timing. These allies, friends, strangers, accidental influencers didn't solve everything, but they showed me I wasn't alone in the grind. They helped me refine my approach, reach the right people, and most importantly, reminded me that I wasn't just fumbling blindly anymore. It was still messy, I still had long nights, but with their guidance, things started moving faster. I realized growth wasn't just about me. It was about the network and support you let in along the way.
Just as I started feeling like I was gaining traction, life threw another curveball. The print-on-demand platform I relied on suddenly updated their policies. Shipping times increased, their fees went up, and a couple of my most popular designs got flagged for copyright concerns because of phrases that sounded too similar to existing products. Orders got delayed, and a few customers demanded refunds. It hit me like a slap. I'd finally built a system that worked, and now it felt like the rug was pulled out from under me. I spent sleepless nights refreshing my store dashboard, panicking over lost sales and negative reviews. I can almost hear that old voice whispering, "Maybe this is it. Maybe you're just not meant to do this." But this time, something was different. I didn't spiral. I didn't consider quitting. I stepped back and treated it like a puzzle. I researched alternative POD platforms, compared fees, checked shipping times, and read hundreds of reviews from other small sellers. I experimented with slightly tweaking my designs to avoid any copyright issues. I even reached out to a couple of loyal customers to explain the delays and offer small discounts. Most were incredibly understanding. It was exhausting. I had moments where I felt like throwing my laptop out the window. But unlike before, I didn't see these setbacks as the end. They were challenges to solve, not signs to quit. Slowly, things stabilized. The new platform was better in some ways, and my revised designs started selling again. That storm taught me something crucial. Resilience isn't about never failing. It's about staying committed when the waves are crashing, learning quickly, and adapting without letting fear take over. After months of grinding, testing, failing, and adapting, things finally started to click. The traffic to my store wasn't just trickling in anymore, it was surging. The combination of consistent posting, refined designs, and better platform logistics was paying off. I noticed a pattern. The simple, relatable humor sold best. A shirt like "Wi-Fi and snacks, my only essentials," or "I came, I saw, I made it awkward," started flying off the virtual shelves. People tagged friends, shared memes, and suddenly I was getting organic traffic I hadn't paid for. Sales started to double month over month. I reinvested the small profits into better tools, premium mock-up software, small ad campaigns targeting niche audiences, and even a basic email list to capture repeat customers. Each improvement compounded the last. The big shift wasn't a single moment. It was a wave. One week, I woke up to 20 orders instead of 2. A TikTok video I didn't expect to gain traction got 50,000 views and hundreds of store clicks. I realized that the combination of persistence, small wins, and smart tweaks was snowballing into real momentum. It felt like the grind had finally paid off. I could see a path not just to survival, but to actual growth. A sustainable business that could scale beyond my tiny apartment and heat press. Once momentum hit, I realized I had to ride it. Not just sit back and hope it continued. I doubled down on what was working. I started releasing new designs weekly, keeping them simple, funny, and instantly relatable. Some new favorites were "Too tired to function, too cool to quit," or "Coffee first, existential crisis later." I also streamlined the back end. I set up automated emails to thank customers, remind them of new designs, and encourage reviews. I tracked which designs were selling best and which hashtags or social posts drove the most traffic. I reinvested profits into small ad campaigns on Instagram and TikTok. Nothing huge, just a few dollars per day, but it drove a consistent trickle of new customers. I also experimented with bundles, like 3-pack shirts with matching humorous phrases, which surprisingly boosted the average order size. Personally, I had to adjust too. I stopped obsessing over every tiny failure and started trusting my process. Some nights I still stayed up late designing or editing mock-ups, but now it felt productive, not punishing. Slowly, the chaotic grind became a rhythm. I wasn't just surviving, I was building something that felt bigger than me. People were wearing my shirts, laughing at my jokes, and sending me pictures from all over the world. The energy shifted from desperate hustle to intentional growth. I'll never forget the exact moment it hit me. I had actually made it. It was a random Wednesday morning. I opened my store dashboard and saw over 100 orders waiting to be fulfilled. My heart skipped a beat. For months, hundreds of hours of work, late nights, and anxious mornings had been leading to this. I wasn't just making a few extra bucks anymore. My little t-shirt venture had become a real business. I remember scrolling on Instagram and seeing pictures of customers wearing my designs from places I'd never even heard of. A guy in Canada with Introverts Unite separately, a girl in Brazil laughing at Wi-Fi and snacks, my only essentials. It hit me like a wave. People actually connected with my work. People paid for something I created. I created this. I called my best friend and just laughed. I didn't say much else because I didn't have words. I just kept refreshing the dashboard, in awe at the numbers, at the momentum I had built from scratch. That morning, for the first time, I didn't feel like a struggling side hustler. I felt like an actual business owner.
After that "oh wow" moment, I realized I couldn't rely entirely on print-on-demand anymore. The margins were good, but if I wanted to scale properly, I had to take control of production. I invested in a proper heat press printer, bought high-quality cotton shirts in bulk, and set up a small corner of my apartment as a mini production space. I learned to print consistently, how to get the colors right, the placement perfect, and the shirts durable. It wasn't easy. I ruined dozens of shirts at first, but each mistake taught me something. Soon after, I hired 2 part-time helpers. One was great at handling packaging and shipping. The other had a knack for customer service and social media. Finally, I could focus on designing and growing the business instead of drowning in logistics. I also decided it was time to have my own online store. I didn't build it myself, I hired a freelance web developer. But I was deeply involved in the design, the UX, and the product pages. The website gave me more control over branding, pricing, and email marketing. It was a massive push, both financially and mentally. I had to front the money for equipment, bulk inventory, and hiring, and it was scary. But I knew if I didn't take this leap, I'd cap my growth forever. The next few months were brutal. Sleepless nights, shipping mistakes, learning the ins and outs of e-commerce, and juggling employees. But gradually, the systems clicked. By the end of that phase, I finally had a business that could run without me being glued to the laptop 24/7. It was real, tangible, mine. By the time everything settled, my own printer humming in the corner, high-quality shirts stacked neatly, my small team handling orders, and my website running smoothly, I finally saw the fruits of all that chaos. Monthly revenue jumped to numbers I'd only dreamed of when I was hustling alone on a POD platform. I was making consistent 5 figures, and for the first time, I had a safety net. My income wasn't just luck, it was predictable, repeatable, and growing. But it wasn't just about money. I had freedom I never imagined. I could plan my days instead of scrambling to fix broken systems. I traveled for a week without worrying about missed orders. I got to celebrate small wins with the team, seeing customers post pictures with our shirts, replying to funny reviews, and occasionally seeing someone wear my designs in real life. The business wasn't perfect, and I still worked hard, but it felt sustainable. The chaotic, sleepless nights of the early grind had paid off. I'd gone from scrambling on a laptop in a messy apartment to running a real, scalable brand. Most importantly, I realized I had confidence in myself and my ability to turn ideas into reality. That's a win no paycheck can measure. Looking back, the journey feels surreal. The failures, the sleepless nights, the messy early experiments, all of it was necessary. Every ruined t-shirt, every failed design, every late-night panic attack taught me something invaluable. Persistence beats talent when talent doesn't stick around, and adaptability beats stubbornness when the plan goes sideways. I learned to embrace the messy middle. I learned that luck matters, like that TikTok influencer sharing my shirt, but preparation matters even more. I learned that asking for help isn't weakness, it's smart, and that investing in myself and my business can feel terrifying, but is essential to growth. Looking ahead, I'm planning the next phase of scaling. Renting a small warehouse or production space so we're not crammed in an apartment corner, hiring a few more team members to handle printing, shipping, and customer support, investing in better equipment, more printers, faster heat presses, higher quality shirts, expanding ad campaigns on Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms to reach new audiences, adding more tools to streamline workflow, track analytics, and manage inventory efficiently. The goal isn't just bigger sales, it's creating a business that can keep growing while giving me freedom and stability. Every step forward now is about building systems, not just chasing short-term wins. If you're listening this and struggling, if your ideas feel messy, your efforts feel invisible, or you're on your 10th failed experiment, I want you to know something. It's normal, and it's part of the process. I started with garbage ideas, a tiny budget, and zero experience. I failed over and over. Failed POD campaigns, dumb slogans that nobody bought, mismanaged orders, and late nights questioning my sanity. I wanted to quit more times than I can count. But the difference between failing and winning was simply not giving up and being willing to change when something didn't work. Luck helped me, yes. Timing helped me. Allies appeared unexpectedly. But without consistent effort, every single opportunity would have slipped past me. The truth is, most people quit right before things start working. That's what separates the almosts from the made-its. So if you're grinding on a project, a side hustle, or a dream, keep going, experiment ruthlessly, ask for help, and don't fear taking the leap when you see a chance to scale. Celebrate the tiny wins. They compound faster than you think. And when the chaos feels unbearable, remember, every messy middle moment is building the foundation for your big breakthrough. You don't need a perfect idea. You just need to start, keep adjusting, and ride the momentum when it comes. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you actually made it.